Hello everyone, this is Prasanjit Ghosh and welcome to the Masterful Master. Today we'll be discussing about the important works of the Anglo-Saxon period. During Anglo-Saxon period, poetry was more prominent than prose. Poetry is divided into three: heroic poetry, lyric poetry and Christian poetry. When we talk about heroic poetry, the most famous heroic poetry is Beowulf. Beowulf is the greatest Old English poem. It was written in the 8th century AD. The author is unknown. Some say that it was written by two Christian monks. Beowulf talks about the heroic adventure of the hero known as Beowulf. It's a Scandinavian tale. The story of Beowulf is set up in Denmark and southwestern Sweden. The action in the poem takes place in the late 5th century and early 6th century AD. The poem has alliterative verse and stressed poetic lines without rhyme. Characters in Beowulf. Beowulf is the epic hero and the protagonist. He is a young warrior from Geatland who goes to help King Hrothgar, a Danish king, from a terrible monster Grendel. Hrothgar, the king of Danes or Shields, under attack by evil forces. Well, Theo, she's Hrothgar's wife, Queen of Danes. Grendel is a terrible monster killed by Beowulf. Grendel's mother. She's a female demon and she's not named in the poem. Her only human quality is the desire to avenge the death of her son. Dragon. The dragon is another evil, fire-breathing creature obsessed with gold. This dragon is hunted down by Beowulf. Ashera is King Hrothgar's senior advisor and friend. He is killed by Grendel's mother. Beowulf is trusted companion and cousin of Beowulf. He helps Beowulf defeat the dragon. Skildschiefsen, he is the founding father of Danes. Onferth is a Danish warrior who is jealous of Beowulf. Onferth is unable to fight Grendel, thus proving inferior to Beowulf. Ecgtheow is Beowulf's father. The main plot of Beowulf involves his heroic quest and lasting legacy as a warrior and king of Geatland. With loyalty and heroism in mind, Beowulf comes to the rescue of Danes and King Hrothgar. They have suffered at the hands of an evil monster, Grendel, who terrorized Heorot Hall and wreaked havoc on Hrothgar's kingdom for 12 years. Grendel is killed by Beowulf. Grendel's mother arrives to avenge her son's death. Beowulf kills Grendel's mother. As a king of Geats, Beowulf fights, kills a dragon, but he is himself injured and eventually succumbs to death. The story ends with Beowulf's death and an elaborate burial. Beowulf is laid to rest with a mountain of treasure to mark his heroic life. The second heroic poetry is Walder. It consists of about 63 lines which narrate some of the exploits of Walter of Aquitaine. It's a story of Walter of Aquitaine and Hildegard, who fall in love and steal treasure from the court of Attila, where they are kept as hostage. There is another king of good hair, who is the king of Burgundians, and Hagina, another man, are after the treasure that Walder and Hildegard possess. The poem is about the conflict that takes place between the two parties. The third important poetry is Fight at Finnsburg or Finnsburg Fragment. It's an Old English heroic poem which talks about the fight in which Hunef and his 60 retailers tried to hold off the attackers at the Finns fort. The fourth important poetry is Widsith. It's an account of the wandering of Widsith, a supposed wanderer. It also recounts the places and people the hero had visited. Lyric poetry. The first lyric poetry is Wanderer. Wanderer is about an old man who talks about an attack in his youth wherein his close friend and kin were killed and memories of the slaughter remains with him all his life. Second lyric poetry is Seafarer. Seafarer is a person who goes on a voyage on sea and basically talks about the condition, solitude in the sea voyage, in contrast with the life on land where men are surrounded by kingsmen, free from danger and full of food and wine. Well, the speaker describes the lonely life of a seafarer. He contrasts this with the relatively easy life of land dwellers. He loves sailing and despite the hardships, he enjoys his life. The next lyric poetry is the wife's lament or the wife's complaint. The poem is about the grief of a female speaker and a state of despair. Dior's lament. In this lyric poem, Dior, a singer, has lost his lord's favor. He is very hurt owing to this. He complains, but he tries to comfort himself by remembering other sorrows of the world. Christian poetry. Talking about the Christian poetry, there were three major poets with immense contribution. Number one is Caedmon. The only work which we know about Caedmon is Caedmon Hymn. The second is Bede. Well, Bede wrote the ecclesiastical history of the English people. The third poet is Cynewulf. Cynewulf wrote the Christ, Juliana, the Fates of Apostles and Eileen. Anglo-Saxon prose. During the Christianization of England, prose developed and not before that. The creator of prose was King Alfred, also known as Alfred the Great. King Alfred encouraged education. He was the one who drove back Danes from England. He translated several books from Latin to English. He started his own chronicle known as the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel to enjoy more videos. Thank you so much and enjoy learning.